me? For real? Oh. You can call from the Bahamas using Rev Boy's prepaid home phone service and prepaid chat cards for much less.
Hey girl, are you ready?
You get free unlimited on-island calls, voicemail, and no internet service or ID is required.
Hello?
Rev Boy's prepaid home phone service and prepaid chat cards.
Hey, vai bien.
Staying in touch never sounded so good.
Good evening, Bahamas. You are tuned in to NB12 broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios. Coming up tonight in news, a 69-year-old grandmother in critical condition tonight after armed robbers barged into her home. Police believe they've solved 2 recent murders. Hurricane season begins tomorrow. Are you prepared? Plus, the countdown to independence begins. We've got those stories and so much more. I'm Bonnie Toot, and NB12 starts now. Tonight, a 69-year-old grandmother is fighting for her life tonight after she was shot in the chest. Police say 3 gunmen burst into her new home on Palima Street off Nassau Street in the early morning hours, and after robbing her family, shot her multiple times.
She couldn't really take that. She's 69 years old, so that really was a messed up thing.
While they were sleeping in the apartment complex they had just moved into 1 day earlier, the victim's 18-year-old grandson says 3 men broke into their home.
Between 3 and 4, we were awakened by 3 men, one armed with a gun, one with a knife, and the next one, I don't really know if he had anything. One of them had a knife to my throat, and the gun pointed towards my army door. The third one was in the corner, and they was asking us for money.
By that time, the teen, who was too afraid to give his name or show his face, says robbers had already stolen their television, laptops, cell phones, watches, game console, games, microwave, clothes, and tennis shoes. He says the culprits then woke them up to demand money. That turned out to be just over $100 from his uncle's trunk. And then their nightmare got even worse.
And then when they was getting the one with the gun fired a shot in my army room, and it hit her in her neck area. Right now she's in the ICU in critical condition.
Have you seen her since she was taken to hospital?
I was there all morning.
How's she doing?
Not too good. They say she had a slight stroke. The blood vein getting to her brain, they had to repair her. And she had kidney problem, and she lost a lot of blood.
The 2 brothers, ages 18 and 19, were afraid to give their grandmother's identity. Out of fear, they would be targeted by her shooter and his 2 accomplices. They showed us the blood-stained pillow and yellow raincoat she was lying on when she was shot. They say they didn't realize she had been hit until they saw her lying there on the cold tiles bleeding. One of the teens told us they couldn't see the culprits because the apartment does not yet have light. He says his brother, grandmother, and uncle moved their belongings into the pink and white 2-story apartment complex on Palima Street off Nassau Street on Tuesday. However, they didn't officially move in until yesterday. Since that horrifying incident, he says they no longer feel safe here.
We already packed up to move.
So you're not going to stay here much longer?
No, Mom.
The living room was filled with boxes that the victim's grandson spent the day packing as they prepared to move out of that apartment. Her 19-year-old grandson says he suspects the robbers knew that his family had just moved in.
At first, I thought it was a joke because the place was supposed to be secure. I didn't know that it was weird. When I actually realized it, I didn't look over there and everything was just gone. So
you think it's people who knew you were new to the neighborhood?
and
took advantage of that?
that's mom. I hope she was right. I'm pissed off and all.
Police are investigating. The government is now confirming that a Cuban man escaped from the Carmichael Road Detention Center last week and remains at large. A release from the government today said during the rainstorm in New Providence last week, there was an attempt to escape the detention center. The release doesn't say who attempted to escape, but our news team understands that several Cuban detainees were involved in that escape attempt. The release said all were prevented from escaping but one person. That man, according to the government, is Roberto Angulo Lamadrid. Again, police say he remains at large. There was no picture of him attached with that release. When we contacted Cuban ambassador to the Bahamas, Ernesto Guzman, about this matter today, he said he had not heard anything about this until we asked him about it. He said he knew Mr. Lamadrid had been detained at the center, but had no idea he had reportedly escaped or was still at large. Authorities are said to be investigating. From the courts, 2 teens have been charged with the murder of Shenrio DeVoe. Police say the young man was walking through a track road to get to his Straughns Corner home last week Saturday when he was gunned down. Heartbroken relatives say he was engaged to be married before his life was cut short. This afternoon, 18-year-old Tristan DeVoe, wearing the navy blue and white shirt, and 19-year-old Judson Mackey, wearing the white shirt with cornrows, were charged with his murder. They're also charged with possession of an unlicensed firearm and possession of ammunition. The 2 were not required to enter a plea. Deputy Chief Magistrate Carolita Bethel informed them that because of the nature of their charges, the court could not grant them bail. Their attorney, Glendon Roll, told the court that his clients alleged they were beaten while in police custody. Bethel ordered that Mackey and DeVoe be allowed to see a doctor at Her Majesty's prison. 2 men were also charged today with the May 22nd murder of Javon Clinton. According to police reports, Clinton was standing in front of a home on Cordo Avenue when an occupant of a silver vehicle jumped out and shot him. After 25-year-old Tristan Curry in the red and black shirt and 28-year-old Herbert Miller in the black jacket were charged with murder today, their attorney alleged that his clients were beaten while in custody. The duo was denied bail. This matter will proceed by voluntary bill of indictment. Curry and Miller were remanded and will return to court on July 30th. Although government has committed more than $8 million to the Royal Bahamas Police Force over the last 2 budget years for increased resources, members of the Police Staff Association say it's simply not enough, as they are lacking in resources and forced to work in poor conditions. Jasmine Bonnaby has more in this report.
Executives of the Police Staff Association say while they're grateful for the new vehicles and increase in recruits, they insist there's still a lot more that needs to be done within the Royal Bahamas Police Force. During his budget communication in the House of Assembly on Wednesday, Prime Minister Perry Christie said the government would have allocated $8 million to the Royal Bahamas Police Force over the course of the 2012-2013 and 2013 and 2014 fiscal years as part of his administration's commitment to do whatever is necessary to reduce crime. Prime Minister Christie said more than $2 billion of his administration's 2013-2014 budget has been allocated for the purchase of new police vehicles in the coming fiscal year. Chairman of the Police Staff Association, Sergeant Dwayne Roll, says executives were pleased with that announcement, but he quickly added that much more is needed for the force where he says morale is low.
Every government talk about the police. We need the police. We need the police. We need the police. But I mean, at what level it is are you going to show us that in any form of how it is you compensate us, how you treat us? You know, I mean, that is an essential part. You can't tell me you love me and treat me like crap. You know, if you love me, show me you love me in any sense of the word. Buying cars is good, but that ain't what the police force is made up of. It ain't made up of cars. I mean, that is essential. Police force is made up of people who have to go out there and perform these jobs.
Roll says those additional cars are desperately needed in the Family Islands, where officers are forced to use their own vehicles on the job. But he adds that some of the unaddressed issues are only getting worse, like the sharing of uniforms among officers working in moldy stations and a lack of mandated retraining for officers.
Salary, training, upgrading our police stations. Our stations had an overhaul from they were built. And I think we need to be in a position where at the end of the day, the officers can feel safe in the environment they work. officers can be comfortable with the salary they're making, and officers can feel that it is the person to whom it is have the charge and care of them. You know, we have this slogan, care, respect, and trust. Care, respect, and trust. That's the motto of the force. Care. Every day there's people is asking, who care about me? We have officers have to go out there and purchase their own equipment to go out there and serve the public. When it is, an officer can apply for uniform and never get it. I think that is a great necessity for the officers as far as the government is concerned. Having the necessary means to get their uniforms. Officers being put on charge for not having something that the government don't provide.
And then there is the much promised DNA lab that has yet to be completed.
If we're going to address it seriously, the government should have taken into consideration a forensic lab, a proper forensic lab, to address the high level of crime, violent crimes. It would have reduced a lot of money leaving the country, where we pay foreign labs huge amount of money to analyze evidence that could have been done locally. We have the expertise, very trained officers here, not being used.
Sergeant Roll admits none of these issues are new, but says the association will be closely monitoring how the funds are allocated in the upcoming weeks when the budget is debated. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
Bahamas Electricity Corporation Chairman Leslie Miller has revealed that residential and commercial consumers will begin to see a drop in their electricity bills by September. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Perry Christie announced in the House of Assembly that BEC will be exempt from paying the 10% excise tax on fuel imports, a move that is projected to result in a 6.6% drop in electricity costs. BEC will, however, have to kick in a 3% business tax on gross revenue, which is why the full 10% wouldn't be passed on, according to Miller. He said the change would have been felt sooner, but BEC buys its fuel about 6 weeks in advance. You can read more about that story in today's Nassau Guardian. Coming up after the break, the latest on NEMA's efforts to assist storm victims. The details of that story and more after this break.